Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to keep talking about the BYU Jerusalem Center, specifically about how the sons of Levi are supposed to, again, offer a righteous offering unto the Lord, and what that means and what implications that may have for the BYU Jerusalem Center if it ever does become a temple. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you end up liking it. Make sure to leave your comments and then share this on your social media. So as I've been doing this like little series of videos about the BYU Jerusalem Center, just more and more and more stuff comes up. And this is something that's been brought up a couple times in the comment section about how, is there going to be animal sacrifice again? And what about the sons of Levi offering a righteous offering again to the Lord? Well, that wasn't all too clear in my mind. I had known about that because I've read the Doctrine and Covenants before several times over, so I'm aware of that part. But it's like one of those things where unless you're like really studying it, you just kind of like read it and move on. So I wanted to go back and do a deeper dive into it, so I could kind of like figure this out because yeah, maybe that could have been like a showstopper for this whole thing, but I don't think it is, and I'll show you why. Check this out. Okay, so you first get this idea from here, section 13 of the Doctrine and Covenants. This is a section that only has one verse, right? It's John the Baptist bringing the Aaronic priesthood, and it says here, "Upon you, my fellow servants, in the name of Messiah, I confer the priesthood of Aaron, which holds the keys of the ministering of angels and the gospel of repentance and of baptism by immersion for the remission of sins. And this shall never be taken again from the earth until the sons of Levi do offer again an offering unto the Lord in righteousness." Now, we know that the tribe of Levi, instead of receiving like a land inheritance in the promised land, their inheritance was the priesthood. And you had several classes of Levites. You had the high priest, which there was only one, and then you had, which today is called the the Kohen Gadol, that's the high priest, and then you have the Kohanim, which are the priests, like the ones doing like the main work in the temple essentially, and then you have the Levites below that. I mean, all of them are from the tribe of Levi, but the regular Levite was just kind of like a worker within the temple, doing more just kind of like maintenance type work and stuff like that. So when you read this, you would be led to believe that, oh, okay, yeah, once the tribe of Levi, once they get back to doing what they do, doing animal sacrifices, that's when this will be fulfilled, or that's what this is talking about. And it seems like that's somewhat true, and I'll show you what I mean. Next, I want to read from this section, section 84, because there's kind of another mention of it here, and some key concepts that we need to go over. So in verses 5 and 6, it says, "For verily this generation shall not pass away until a house be built unto the Lord, and a cloud shall rest upon it, which cloud shall be even the glory of the Lord, which shall fill the house." And it's interesting because last week's Come Follow Me, we were talking about the glory of the Lord, how that came up time and time and time again in Moses 1, and how that essentially was like a way of saying being in the presence of the Lord, being able to speak to him face to face, being transfigured. Okay, verse 6, "And the sons of Moses," okay, sons of Moses, "according to the holy priesthood, which he received under the hand of his father-in-law Jethro," and then goes down through the priesthood line. Okay, all the way back to Abraham, Melchizedek, Noah, and then Enoch, and then all the way back. Okay, so we're talking about this phrase right here, sons of Moses. So keep that in mind. Not sons of Levi in this particular case, sons of Moses. But remember both of those terms. Okay. And now going down here to let's see, what was it? Starting in verse 31. "Therefore, as I said concerning the sons of Moses," okay, sons of Moses, "for the sons of Moses and also the sons of Aaron shall offer an acceptable offering and sacrifice in the house of the Lord, which house shall be built unto the Lord in this generation upon the consecrated spot as I have appointed. And the sons of Moses and of Aaron shall be filled with the glory of the Lord upon Mount Zion, okay, Mount Zion, in the Lord's house. Whose sons are ye? Okay, so here it's saying you. Whose sons are you? And also, and also many whom I have called and sent forth to build up my church. For whoso is faithful unto the obtaining of these two priesthoods of which I have spoken, and the magnifying of their calling, are sanctified by the Spirit unto the renewing of their bodies. They become, okay, after receiving these two priesthoods, they become the sons of Moses and of Aaron and of the seed of Abraham and the church and kingdom and the elect of God. Really quick, when you click on this footnote for consecrated spot, as I have appointed, because you may think that that's like talking about the Temple Mount, where many believe that the building, the temple in Jerusalem has to be built in that same spot. You might think that that's what this is referring to. When you click on this, it's actually talking about Independence, Missouri. So talking about the New Jerusalem. Okay. So here, essentially, what we have read is that those who have accepted these two priesthoods, are the sons of Moses and Aaron. And then we are to offer an acceptable offering and sacrifice in the house of the Lord, or in the temple, which house shall be built in this generation upon the consecrated spot in Independence, Missouri. Okay, so that's what is going on here in this section. Okay, now I always like to bounce these scriptures and sections off of what it says in church literature, especially manuals like institute manuals, seminary manuals, and so forth. So this is what it says for section 13. And you'll remember this is the one where we have the sons of Levi. Now think about it in those terms, like how we just read section 84. It says that we're the sons of Moses and Aaron, which again they're Levites, and and then this right here, the sons of Levi. So you shouldn't probably surprise you as we read this here. Okay, so this is talking about section 13, verse 1. What is meant by the sons of Levi offering in offering? That's wonderfully worded. Offering in offering unto the Lord in righteousness. In ancient times, God commanded his people to offer up animal sacrifices as part of their worship. The purpose of shedding the blood of an animal was to help people look forward in faith to the time when the blood of Jesus Christ would be shed to atone for their sins. From Moses' time to the death of Jesus Christ, the law of Moses dictated that animal sacrifices and burnt offerings be performed by priests officiating in the tabernacle or temple, like once the actual temple was built, made of stone, rather than just the portable temple. These priests were descendants of Levi, right, who were designated by the Lord to serve in the sanctuary, in the temple. Thus, the term sons of Levi, quote unquote, refers to holders of the priesthood. Okay, so now hang on, because like if you're in the camp of like, there still needs to be animal sacrifice, there you're going to see. So just don't fall away yet from the video. So watch. The scriptures describe a few important ways that church members can make an offering unto the Lord in righteousness. The Book of Mormon teaches us to come unto Christ and offer our whole souls as an offering unto him. So this is making it seem, and I believe that this is right in this manual, that us offering our heart and souls, a broken heart and contrite spirit as an offering, that's, giving an offering in righteousness, right? So in one sense, it looks like this has been completed, because if the sons of Levi, sons of Aaron, sons of Moses refer to priesthood holders, then yeah, that has happened, and it hadn't happened, before the priesthood came back to the earth, right? So it has resumed this type of offering. Okay, but there's more. So just hang on. Um, Isaiah prophesied that in the last days, those who have been gathered by the Lord shall bring all their brethren as an offering unto the Lord, meaning those who are converted are to be brought to the temple. Okay, so like that's another type of offering, another way that you can think about it. Additionally, the prophet Joseph Smith gave the inspired instruction that Latter-day Saints should offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness and present in his holy temple a book containing the records of our dead. Okay, now look at this. In regards to animal sacrifice, the prophet Joseph Smith gave the following explanation. Quote, "It is generally supposed that sacrifice was entirely done away when the great sacrifice, i.e., the sacrifice of the Lord Jesus, was offered up, and that there will be no necessity for the ordinance of sacrifice in the future. But those who assert this are certainly not acquainted with the duties, privileges, and authority of the priesthood, or with the prophets." Okay, so Joseph Smith himself, he's saying this about animal sacrifice. Okay, the offering of sacrifice has ever been connected and forms a part of the duties of the priesthood. It began with the priesthood and will continue until after the coming of Christ, from generation to generation. So think about in General Conference when President Nelson has said that the restoration is not yet complete, that there's still more to be restored. Certainly, this right here, animal sacrifice, is probably part of that. I wouldn't say that it's probably all, but I think that it's part of what's going to come back. I also wouldn't be surprised if at some point we start observing um, the feast days. I'm kind of confused why we don't do that now, but it's probably because that hasn't been restored yet. It's probably not as essential as what we have, of course. We have right now the saving ordinances in order to achieve exaltation. But I wouldn't be surprised if those come back too. But anyway, animal sacrifice. Okay, so let's keep reading about it. These sacrifices, as well as every ordinance belonging to the priesthood, will, when the temple of the Lord shall be built, and the sons of Levi be purified, be fully restored and attended to in all their powers, ramifications, and blessings. Now, this is where we have to stop, and there's not really, I don't think, much of a explanation here about these sons of Levi that he's talking about in this quote. Is he using this in the same sense as what we were reading before, that the sons of Levi and Aaron and Moses are those that hold the priesthood? I don't know. So I wouldn't be surprised if literally Levites or Kohanim and Levites do again specifically do animal sacrifices. I wouldn't be surprised, and I think that there's probably a likelihood that that'll happen. In terms of the sons of Levi offering again an offering of righteousness, I guess you could say that at the very least, that's been partly fulfilled, unless it also includes animal sacrifice, right? So I'm not in a position to say that or interpret that. Maybe the Lord does consider section 13 completed. Maybe he does. I don't know. And I can't really find anything that really clearly states that. But let's continue. Um, this ever did and ever will exist when the powers of the Melchizedek priesthood are sufficiently manifest. Else, how can the restitution of all things spoken of by the holy prophets be brought to pass? It is not to be understood that the law of Moses will be established again, with all its rites and variety of ceremonies. This has never been spoken of by the prophets, but those things which existed prior, okay, before Moses' day, namely sacrifice, will be continued. So I appreciate that clarification because, I'm not sure really what I had in my mind prior to reading this. And you might think about what you thought before as well, but so he's not talking about bringing back the law of Moses. We're talking about this animal sacrifice that goes all the way back to the days of Adam, that will be restored. So um, again, these sons of Levi up here, is this talking about the Aaronic priesthood and I guess also the Melchizedek priesthood, in that we, with like a ladder, like a specially built Latter-day Temple, will perform animal sacrifice again? Or does it mean that the third temple that the Jews are trying to construct, that they'll be the ones that create that temple, and then maybe later it'll be dedicated by proper authority, and we'll do sacrifices there? I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know how you could possibly say one way or the other until we receive further clarification. Um, when you look at the BYU Jerusalem Center, uh, if this is allowed to become a temple in the future, um, it has a very interesting shape. I've already pointed out really interesting things about it. This rectangular section up here, the dimensions match the tabernacle as well as the ancient temples. Um, and specifically with the tabernacle, the Holy of Holies and the holy place correspond right here with these block things up here. Like if you look at a top down view. You'll notice that it has a bunch of arches, and so there's like a lot of open air inside of here, right? Like this wall right here, like you can walk through these arches and you're not inside. You're underneath like a ceiling and a roof, but you're not like indoors, so to speak. It's still exposed to the outside. So if they were to renovate this at some point, could they make this the type of temple where sacrifices could be done? Of course they could. Like they could do anything. So this is still a viable option as far as um, doing animal sacrifices. Like who knows? They could make like a hole up here, and then maybe over here have the altar, and then smoke would go up through here. I don't know. Maybe there could be two temples. Maybe this would be just like more of the kind of traditional modern temple where we do modern temple work, and then maybe they would build the third temple, and then that would be where we would do the animal sacrifice. I don't know. I don't know. But let's let's keep reading. Let's see. So, not bringing back the law of Moses, but bringing back sacrifice. Okay. President Joseph Fielding Smith provided further clarification about animal sacrifice in the last days. Quote, "The sacrifice of animals will be done to complete the restoration when the temple spoken of is built at the beginning of the millennium, or in the restoration." So he's not. It doesn't sound like he's sure exactly when, whether it's going to be during the beginning of the millennium or before. But anyway, blood sacrifices will be performed long enough to complete the fullness of the restoration in this dispensation. Afterwards, sacrifice will be of some other character. So even with that, I don't really know what to make of it, because Joseph Smith, the original Joseph Smith, he's saying here that after the coming of Christ and from generation to generation, here, well, I guess that still fits, but he's saying that at some point afterwards, it'll be of some other character. So whatever, we'll just have to wait and see exactly how it happens. Okay, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But let's read some more. The sons of Moses, according to the holy priesthood. Doctrine and Covenants 84 refers to events and themes found in the Old and New Testaments, highlighting important connections between God's work in ancient times and in our day. For example, the Lord prophesied that a cloud would rest upon the Latter-day Temple in New Jerusalem, as occurred when the ancient tabernacle was erected by Moses and the children of Israel in the wilderness. The Revelation briefly speaks of, quote, the sons of Moses according to the holy priesthood, referring to those who, like Moses, received the Melchizedek priesthood, also referred to in this revelation as the greater priesthood. Following this phrase, the Lord interjects instruction about the priesthood. This instruction includes an explanation about the priesthood, how the explanation that the priesthood came through an unbroken line from Adam to Moses, as well as important truths regarding excuse me, the priesthood and priesthood ordinances. Okay, so without that interjection that I was just talking about right here, without this interjection, the Revelation would read, if you took that section out, um, and the sons of Moses, according to the holy priesthood, take out that interjection, shall offer an acceptable offering and sacrifice in the house of the Lord. Okay. Okay. Over here, this is another student manual, and I brought this up because it simply says at the beginning, so what is the offering in righteousness to be made by the sons of Levi? There is more than one meaning to the, quote, offering in righteousness, end quote, to be made by the sons of Levi at or near the second coming of the Lord. All right. Notice how it says at or near. So it may not happen all the way up until he actually comes, according to this. There was a church news article. This is 1993. And this is pretty much almost exactly identical to the student manual, specifically this one right here, talking about section 38. But here's this for reference as well. Now, let's look at this Ensign article, May 1972, talking about the future of the Holy Land. And it says, many of the Orthodox Jewish people themselves are talking about the construction of a third temple. And boy, are they really talking about it nowadays. They are just getting closer and closer. Concerning this subject, an important scroll was discovered in the Middle East just a few years ago. Dr. Yigael Yadin of the Hebrew University is now translating this scroll, which he calls the Temple Scroll, and concerning which he has said, and I wanted to not really go over this at length, but I just wanted to point it out because I wasn't really aware, I don't think, of this Temple Scroll. So here's like a Wikipedia article. Here's a BYU article about it, and I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't think that the Jews accept this as authoritative, and they don't plan to use this as a plan for a third temple, but I guess like there was this scroll translated and it had kind of like a different layout for the temple. This inner part is the same, like as far as like this rectangle here that we keep talking about, that's pretty much the same. But what's different is that you have like this square wall. So there's like this inner court, and then there's another wall right here, and this is like a middle court, and then there's this outer court. And all of these walls have 12 openings, one for each of the tribes of Israel. Okay, so anyway, if you're interested in that, I'll put the links below, but that was just something that I came across. So I'm going to skip down to here. Okay, now we're talking about who is going to build the temple. Okay, so now we're switching the focus to who is going to build it and trying to figure that out. Okay, because that's like another big part of this whole puzzle. Orson Pratt, okay, in the Journal of Discourses, of course, Orson Pratt has described another distinguishing feature concerning the temple that will be built in Jerusalem during the last days. Quote, the temple at Jerusalem will undoubtedly be built by those who believe in the true Messiah. Its construction will be, in some respects, different from the temples now being built. It will contain the throne of God, or the Lord, upon which he will, at times, personally sit and reign over the house of Israel forever. Okay, so it was his belief, and I don't know how authoritative it is, because we've talked about before, and I've talked about with Troy from the last Dispensation channel, how, especially like in these early days, I don't know that they had it all exactly figured out. It's hard to tell what was necessarily their opinion. Like in this case, was this just kind of like his opinion, or is this like an authoritative statement? Well, the one thing that we can say is that he says undoubtedly, so I guess there is a bit of uncertainty, but it looks like that was his opinion, is that the temple would be built by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There's more, though. there's more. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, this is from the Journal of Discourses, and this is by Charles W. Penrose. Okay, this is what he said. Let me find it again. And they will gather together to Zion, as the prophet foretold, and build up temples to the living God, that his ordinances may be performed therein, and that they may learn of his ways and walk in his paths. Then the gospel, as I before remarked, will be preached to the Jews. Okay, so first we're going to have temples built up, then it's going to be preached to the Jews. The way is now being prepared for this, which it doesn't seem like that's come to fruition. The work is moving on for the gathering of the Jews to their own land, that they may build it up as it was in former times, that the temple may be rebuilt, and the mosque of the Muslim, which now stands in its place, may be moved out of the way. Talking about the Dome of the Rock, well, and maybe Al-Aqsa Mosque, but I'm not sure. That Jerusalem may be rebuilt upon its original site, that the way may be prepared for the coming of the Messiah, who shall be seen in the midst of those whose ancestors nailed him to the cross, and who, when they see the marks in his hands shall say in answer to their inquiries, these are the wounds with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. Okay, now this one is a lot more, I think, speculative, because we haven't had any proselyting among the Jews. I guess we kind of did. I guess we kind of did a little bit, because when we were looking into the BYU Jerusalem Center and how it came to be, one of the stories that we read was about missionaries that were sent to Palestine. So I guess a little bit of that has happened, but certainly not now. There's no proselyting allowed in Israel. So, and I tend not to think that the plan is to remove the Dome of the Rock. I think that that's probably going to remain. I'm not sure if the Lord would do that, but maybe. I mean, who knows? It looks like Charles William Penrose was a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, so he was an apostle. Okay, so that's what he had to say. Now, I found this. This is on thirdhour.org, and this is in a forum. This guy right here, he's quoting something from Joseph Fielding Smith, but I looked into it, and it turns out that that particular quote is talking about the Missouri Temple. In other words, the Millennial Temple, because he was just talking about how these other break-off churches from our church wouldn't be the ones to build the temple. It says here, apostate factions will not build the temple. So I don't know if there was like some debate about that or something back in his day. So this isn't too applicable to what we're talking about. But here he quotes Bruce R. McConkey. Okay, and this is from Millennial Messiah. I found this paragraph right here, over here, on Google Books. So I'm going to read from right here. Bruce R. McConkey, The Millennial Messiah, The Second Coming of the Son of Man, page 279. Who are those that are far off, who shall come to Jerusalem to build the house of the Lord? Surely they are the Jews who have been scattered afar. By what power and under whose authorization shall the work be done? There is only one place under the whole heavens where the keys of the temple building are found. Where the keys of temple building are found. There is only one people who know how to build temples and what to do in them when they are completed. That people is the Latter-day Saints. Okay, so it looks like in Bruce R. McConkey's view, it would be our church that builds the temple. The temple in Jerusalem will not be built by Jews who have assembled there for political purposes as at present. It will not be built by a people who know nothing whatever about the sealing ordinances and their application to the living and the dead. It will not be built by those who know nothing about Christ and his laws and the mysteries reserved for the saints. But it will be built by Jews who have come unto Christ who once again are in the true fold of their ancient shepherd, and who have learned anew about temples because they know that Elijah did come, um, not to say in a vacant chair at some Jewish feast of the Passover, but to the Kirtland Temple on April 3rd, 1836, to Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery. The temple in Jerusalem will be built by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They that are afar off, they that come from an American Zion, they who have a temple in Salt Lake City will come to Jerusalem to build there another holy house in Jerusalem, portions of the mountains of the Lord's house. Now, that is a pretty strong statement right there. He's saying it very as a matter of factly, wouldn't you say? Now, one thing that I realized, okay, is that his book, The Millennial Messiah, this was published in 1982. Okay, 1982. I don't know how long it took him to write it, okay, but let's say it took him maybe a couple years, something like that. So remember this date, 1982, the Millennial Messiah, the second coming of the Son of Man. So what was going on at that time in 1982? Well, plans to build a center for students were announced by LDS Church President Spencer W. Kimball in 1979. So the idea to build the BYU Jerusalem Center was announced in 1979. And then just a couple years later, Bruce R. McConkey publishes the Millennial Messiah, in which he makes this this prediction right here that the temple's not going to be built by unbelieving Jews. It's going to be built by Latter-day Saints. Do you think maybe he was privy to some information, stuff which we still don't have confirmed? Okay, is this speculation? Yeah, it's speculation, but I think that it's rooted in a lot of good data and information. So, let's say Bruce R. McConkey is aware of, the true plans for the BYU Jerusalem Center. Now, the church would never break its agreement with the Israeli government, but we do have a prophet, someone who can actually talk to the Lord and that can see into the future and receive revelation. So even though now, and even though back then, um, it would have been probably impossible to just like outright build a temple, maybe, just maybe, the prophet knew and was instructed to do this so that in later times, maybe the Israeli government would say, okay, yeah, you can build the temple. Or, maybe something else would happen, and then in some natural way that was directed by the Lord, at a later time, we would be able to renovate the BYU Jerusalem Center and turn it into a temple. But whatever the case, if that's what's going on with the BYU Jerusalem Center, I'm pretty sure that Bruce R. McConkey probably would have known about it. And as you've watched my videos about the BYU Jerusalem Center, if you haven't, make sure to go back and watch them. But as you've watched them, it seems like the general authorities feel pretty passionately about it, and they view it. They've said it that they view it as a miracle that it even happened. Okay, so I think that we have to read this statement here by Bruce R. McConkey in this context, 1982. So 1979, just a few years earlier, that's when it was announced. And then the BYU Jerusalem Center began construction in 1984. Okay, so a couple years after he published the book. And then the dedication was completed on May 16th, 1989, a year after construction was finished. So it was under construction from 1984 to 1988, okay, for like 4 years. Excuse me. So it's interesting. it's interesting that at a time when that was announced and about to be constructed, he so, matter of factly said this in this book that he published. I think we have to stop and think about that. I think that we should probably think a little bit about that. Okay, and nowadays, the Jews are, um, it seems like getting just closer and closer to start doing animal sacrifices again. Um, Here is an article on Chabad.org. This is this is kind of like an official Jewish site, so to speak. This is like a kind of an authoritative group, the Chabad, um, and it has like a whole like Q&A. This like a Q&A article about like, oh, why do you got to do this? What, is this really necessary? Da, 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 da. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not going to go through it, but I'm going to put it in the description below in case you want to check this out. Um, Back in, let's see, what was this? Back in 2015, there was a reenactment of a sacrifice that was done, and there's actually a video of it in case you want to watch it. It is kind of graphic, so viewer discretion advised on this. But um, they did it. They did this reenactment, the whole thing. Um, okay, so that was in 2015, and then we have these, I guess, Samaritans that have also done it. In first, sheep slaughtered in Jerusalem Old City in reenactment of Passover sacrifice. So they'd been doing this for a long time, but what was different this time is that it was done inside city walls of the old city. Okay, the first time in 2,000 years inside city walls, and guess what? It happened in 2017. It's that special year that keeps coming up over and over and over and over again on my channel. A lot of things happened in 2017, and I don't think that this right here is coincidence. Um, okay, and that's it. That's it for this one, you guys. So what do I think about it? I mean, I don't know, but I think that we need to take all this into consideration. There could be two temples, there could be just one temple. Maybe it will just be the third temple built by the Jews, or maybe it'll just be the BYU Jerusalem Center. We don't know, or maybe it could be both. The BYU Jerusalem Center, it could be renovated to become whatever it needs to be. They could even tear the entire thing down and rebuild it. So anything's possible. Now, of course, that's not the current circumstances. They have to abide to their agreement, but things can change, and things can change in unexpected ways. So nothing's too hard for the Lord. If he wants this to become a temple where animal sacrifices are performed, he can do it. If he wants the third temple to be that, and for this to be a modern day temple, he can do that. So I think that we just need to keep an eye on this, because this does look like a very good candidate to become a temple someday. And I would say, I guess I'm leaning more toward the fact that this probably is the actual temple. And I'm not closed off to the idea that animal sacrifices may be performed in some other location, whether it's the third temple or even somewhere else. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments below, especially if you have any additional information, and if you have sources for that information, that would be spectacular. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.